Hello, Barbara Halliday. It's so good to have you here today. I have interviewed quite a few people, and I was looking forward to meeting with you. You and I have known each other for quite a while.
We certainly have,
Yeah,
yes.
we run into each other at meetings and what have you, and we get to talk a little bit. But now, what I want to do today is zero in on Barbara Halliday, the person, and not getting political or anything like that, just to get to know you as a person and what's going on.
Sure.
And Channel 27, Chabot College, gets all over, so that's great. So let us begin, shall we?
Sure.
Uh, you know, the I'd like to know about your own family, what your situation is now. Tell me about.
Well, I grew up on the East Coast in the state of Delaware, one of the smaller states in the country, and I came to California on my own in my 20s. In the late 1970s, and decided, I had visited a friend who moved to San Francisco, and I thought, what a wonderful city, and I went back, but I thought, well, I might try to live out there. So about a year later, I had sold my car, and I rode a train. I moved out here on the train.
Wow.
And didn't have a job, didn't have a place to live, knew a couple of people in San Francisco. I don't know that you could do that now, but at the time, I quickly found some temp typing work and a place to live, and then I got a more full-time job that paid the bills a little better, and I was here to stay. I met my husband, Rick, about a few years after I moved to California. We met each other. He was living in Sunnyvale at the time and working for Hewlett-Packard, but he was a very close friend of one of my friends in San Francisco, and that's how we met. We got married, and we started looking for a house that was somewhere between.
So how long ago was this? How many years back?
Oh, 32 years ago. We got married in 1985, yes.
Wow.
And so when we were looking for a house that would be a good commute for me to San Francisco and for him to Palo Alto, that's how we got to Hayward.
Oh,
and I
okay.
think that's how a lot of people got to Hayward. It's so well located. We are truly the heart of the Bay. And we had never really been to Hayward before. And we're quite taken with our new community from the beginning.
And you have no children now at all? Or
No, we never had children, although I will say that we are very doting aunts and uncles to some fine children, and in fact, 3 of them just spent the holiday with us, which was a lot of fun. When I say children, they're in their 20s now, but I've watched them grow up, so that's how I think of them. But yeah, we're glad that they like coming to visit us.
Yeah, it's so amazing how they grow up so fast.
They do,
you
don't
say
they?
children, wait a minute, children?
Yes, yes.
They're taller than I am and what have you. I fortunately got to meet your husband not too long ago. I hadn't met him before, even though we've known each other a year going and coming and so forth. So it was great to talk to him a little bit. So
he's very involved in the community as well. He's the president of the Literacy Plus Council that does our adult literacy program at the library, and he is also a member of the Hayward Area Recreation District Foundation Board.
Wow, so he's pretty involved as
you
are, but in a different way, of course.
Yes.
But not too much with the city of Hayward.
No, not so much. Well, through the library he is.
Yeah, yeah. Well, brothers, sisters, tell me a little bit about your family. How many brothers you have, sisters, and so forth?
I had one brother. Very sadly, he died in 1991. I stayed as an only child. My parents, well, I grew up in Delaware, but when they retired, they went to Florida. They were big baseball fans, and they went to live in the town that the Philadelphia Phillies do spring training in. And they lived there for a little over 20 years. But then when they got older, we all agreed that they needed to be closer to their now only child. So they agreed to move to California, and I was really privileged to spend the last few years of their lives, closer to them. But they've both passed away now.
Yeah. Was he ill for a long time, or just suddenly died, or?
My brother, he died of HIV, AIDS-related complications.
Yeah. Wow. That HIV battle, I got really involved with that in the sense that I produced a keychain that I sold and so forth, and that was because I saw that as a really horrible thing, to happen to people.
It was pretty early on for him too, and it was very traumatic for all of us.
I can imagine, yeah.
I think if he had lived longer, now I have other friends know other people who have been living with HIV now for a long time. They have much
Wow.
better drugs now, but
Yeah,
they just hadn't developed them back
yeah.
then.
Wow. Well, I'd like to say, what special events has happened in your life? You know, that's kind of a wide open question for you. But
Well, certainly becoming mayor
yeah,
is a very special event, and not one that I had planned for a long time.
Yeah.
I really came to public service in a very circuitous route from most people. My early career was in journalism, and that was back east. I worked for about 10 years in local government, or in local journalism, covering local government. So that's how I learned about local government and how powerful it really is. I'd always been interested in government and politics, but I think most young people growing up, they think about government as the president, the Senate, the House of Representatives, and they don't, you know, people know who a mayor is, but they don't always know about city councils and all the work that a local government does. So it was very interesting for me to cover it back east. When I moved to San Francisco, I took a little bit different direction. I got a job with an insurance company that insured doctors for physicians for medical malpractice liability, and I did investigative work, you know,
in that area,
regarding the cases that would come up, and you know. How we were going to either defend them or settle them. But so that was a little bit different term, but I remained interested in local government. And when we bought a house in Hayward, we got married and bought a house in Hayward in the Southgate neighborhood, right near Chabot College here.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And I started getting interested. I thought, well, I've never owned a house before. Neither of us had ever owned a house before at that point. So I got involved in my neighborhood association in the Southgate neighborhood. I got involved with the Southgate Swim Club. That's a nonprofit swim club in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
And then I began to get to know some of the people on the city council, and where I really got to know people on the city council was when Caltrans in the early 1990s came along with a plan to rebuild the 880-92 interchange.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember back then when that happened, but this plan would have taken maybe as many as 200 homes in the 4 neighborhoods around that interchange, and would have really dwarfed the neighborhoods with very high flyovers. So the neighborhoods got together, Southgate and Eden Gardens and Schaefer Park, and the other one was the Willamette area near the post office, and we all got together, and we got the city council on our side, and we launched what turned out to be an 11-year effort to change that design. Yes, it really was 11 years of meeting with Caltrans, of having our city council back us up and say, we don't like this design, and finally they did a redesign, and it's finished now. It's been finished for a number of years now, and I think, well, there are people who still think it's too big and too much. It is moving traffic better, and it didn't impact the neighborhoods nearly as much. I think the total home loss ended up being about 12.
Yeah. Well, I guess in your position, you find a lot of responsibility thrown on you. Sometimes, whoa, wait a minute, I don't know if I can do that or not. But do you find that happens to you a lot, that a lot of responsibility is thrown on you that you weren't aware that had happened or whatever?
Oh, well, I think that being mayor is very different. I had been on the city council for 10 years when I ran for mayor, so I really thought I knew what I was getting into. I had followed, worked closely with the former mayor, Michael Sweeney, who I know you know also.
Good old Mike,
in fact, when I first got on council, Roberta Cooper was still the mayor. So I worked with 2 other mayors, but I don't think anything quite prepares you for for becoming mayor and realizing that you're now really the face of the city. And a lot of people don't understand that the mayor and the council, we set policy, but we're not really responsible for the day-to-day operations of the city. We have a city manager who is, highly educated and highly qualified to do that. And then we hire the city manager, we hire the city attorney and the city clerk, and they handle the rest of that. Most of it falls on the city manager. But it's very important to hire a good city manager, and it's very important to be out there in the community being aware of how our policies are affecting people. I view being on the city council, which the mayor is a part of the city council, and I view that as being a liaison between the people of the community, which we are, we are part of the community, and the city staff that really does the professional job of running the city.
Yeah.
People often refer to the word bureaucrats in a kind of
Bureaucratic,
pejorative way, but I can tell you I have worked with some very fine ones in the city of Hayward. But I think that it takes that liaison to say, well, no, wait a minute. See how that is impacting the people who have to deal with these policies, and can we tweak it a little bit? So that's what the job really is. It can be it can be very rewarding when our city is recognized for doing good things. It can also be very, very sad, and
different things that happen.
With some things that happen.
Well, Mike Sweeney, I knew him for a long time. We used to play basketball together. I don't know if you knew that or not. We were on the same team and what have you.
And my colleague Francisco Zermeño was on that team too,
right,
wasn't he?
Yeah. Do you follow basketball? Are you with the Warriors and that?
Oh, I love the Warriors.
Do you
How
really?
could you not love the Warriors?
Put her there, kid.
I think, and also, not that I follow sports a lot, but I love dance. That is my passion is dance. Dance, any kind, but especially
Dancing?
ballet. Yes.
You're kidding me.
Yes.
I love dancing.
Yes,
I do a lot of
okay.
dancing, yeah.
So I'm not saying that I'm good at dancing. I love to see it done by people who know how. But to me, basketball of all the sports is one that, well, I mean, obviously, except for maybe like figure skating or something. But basketball, the way they move on the court, they have to have the same kind of control and knowledge of their bodies as dancers do.
Well, that's one thing I don't want to brag about anything, but I still play with 20-year-olds in basketball. I have a round-the-back move that I make and lay it up like this, and it blows their mind.
Just like Steph. Did he get it from you?
Mike, well, when Mike and I played together, I would do that move. If they had me covered, boom, I'd shoot it over to Mike. And Mike had a long shot, he was Steve Curry type.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was good.
Oh, good.
And sometimes when you see him, I say, I heard you're like Steve Curry. Who told you? You don't know it was me. But he was good, and we'd play one-on-one at different times, and we'd really go at it, but a friendly thing, not getting rough like some people do. I got a good black eye and playing basketball. I don't know how it happened. So anyway, when Mike and I got into it, and going at it, and he would say, "Take that, Sanchez," but he wouldn't yell it out or anything like that. But we just would hug, and it was great knowing Mike.
It must be fun to play. I'm obviously at 5 feet tall, have not ever really been a basketball player, but I do love to watch it, and the Warriors are great.
Well, sometimes don't limit yourself. Get a basketball and shoot once in a while. That's no big deal, but it is a big deal to you because you get the feel of it,
Yeah. Competitive sports isn't my thing so much. I mean, maybe to watch it, but not to play. No, I do like to keep in shape, though, and I think that that's what, it's very important to be physically fit, especially if you have a demanding job. And so I like to do my major form is to the DVDs, the exercise DVDs, like by people like Jane Fonda. I have a few of hers,
of course.
And that's how I keep fit.
Really?
You wouldn't want to see me play basketball, probably. I wouldn't be good at it, but juggling is more like the mayor, what the mayor has to do. Juggle a lot of things. It's very time consuming, and the schedule can be really demanding at times to be mayor.
I can imagine that. Well, I got a lot of little things to ask you here too. In the future, for you, and I'm not talking political stuff, and that you want to be president of something or whatever, but what do you see yourself in, as in the future? As you look forward to that?
Well, I see myself as being mayor for another 5 years, hopefully, since I have declared my intention to run a year from now for one more term. Probably beyond that, at my age, perhaps I see myself retired and active in the community in some different way, such as my husband is now. He's retired from his full-time job. I think that being the mayor is probably going to be my last, real job. But that's not volunteer. But I think in the future, certainly I'll always be a volunteer, and I am now in the community too. Part of our Keep Hayward Clean and Green effort and picking up litter.
Yeah.
But I would really like to work more with children, and I did that for a few years at our library. At the
I can see
after-school
where you'd be
homework.
good with that, with kids.
Yeah, no,
You have
I've
a-
always loved to work with kids, and I think
Yeah.
that's what I would like to do ultimately. Being mayor is a very rewarding job, and keeps me very busy right now. But
Yeah.
at such time when I'm not doing that, I think I'll be back volunteering at the library and helping kids with their
yeah.
homework.
Yeah. You know, I thought the big things in life, historical events and so forth, your experience with clubs. You're a Rotary Club member, and you've been 2 years with the Hayward Rotary Club, which is great. You know, the Fun Club, FUN, Fremont Union City, that's the one I belong to, by the way, and we do a lot
I've
of
been to
stuff
some
with
of
it.
their events, I think.
Yeah, that's where I've seen you some of the times. But now that I know you like to dance, I'm going to grab you and dance if there's music. You know, I have one gal that we hear. She and I look at each other and we start dancing. Lynn is her name.
Well, I'll watch you from the sidelines. Remember, I said I'm not really all that good.
Yeah, who cares?
Although, one of my most fun things that I've done as mayor is get to dance in the Nutcracker that is produced right here at Chabot College in the theater every December by Peggy Peabody, who owns and runs the Les Ballets Petites ballet school here in Hayward, and she does a big Nutcracker production every year. And this, for the past 3 years, I've danced in it, and some other people.
No kidding.
Your friend Francisco Zermeño was one of the dancers this year, and Elisa Marquez, council member Marquez,
Really?
and our city manager, Callie McAdoo, and our
Got
city
involved
attorney,
too, huh?
Michael Lawson. We're all in it. So
I'll
yes,
be
we
there.
like to support the arts at the city
I'll be
City
there.
Hall.
Well, when you say you dance with them there, what kind of? You have
Well,
make,
in the Nutcracker, you know, in the beginning, have you ever seen the Nutcracker?
yes, I have.
Well, in the beginning, there's a party scene, and that's where we dance, and we
Okay,
do. I
just
call
a-
it like a little circle dance
Yeah.
that we do, but it's
Yeah.
not too complicated. But it is
Yeah.
real dancing.
That's awesome, awesome. Because I've loved dancing since I was a little twerp. Well, that was yesterday. And
Yeah, I
always-
can see that you probably are a good dancer.
Yeah, I'm pretty good.
'Cause you
Yeah,
can play
I
basketball,
love
too.
dancing, you know, and I just do. And this is why I'd love to get you out there. And you wouldn't have a chance, you know. I'd spin you, and you'd say, "Whoa, I'll spin you again." And
Yeah, well, that sounds like fun sometimes.
oh yeah, it'll be a kick in the pants. Let's see what else I got to ask you here. You know, I did this one thing with the world peace thing that I showed you a little form here. And that really grabs me, you know, when we talk about world peace. It's a big word, you know, you think, well, you know, that's just saying something, but I want to get involved in it, you know. And I did something too, like I made up a world peace, a flag salute. And it goes like this: I pledge allegiance. And this is not to counteract anything we do, because we have Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, flags and so forth, you know. And this would be a flag, another flag, not to replace anything, because that's one of the things, I can't think of his name, darn it, the mayor, the head honcho at Rotary at one time. He was nice, this guy. Anyway, he wrote me back a full letter telling me what to do and so forth, and just made a few changes. He's good on his English stuff, you know. But in that endeavor, you know, I want to say it goes like this: I pledge allegiance to the flag of the world and to all of the lands that it represents. One world, indivisible, with liberty, justice, and love for all. And that's my world flag salute. And someday, who knows, maybe it'll go into the books or whatever. But so those are kind of my big aims that I have. And like I showed you before too, I made the largest rotary wheel that was ever made that stands up. And then the guy told me, he said, wait a minute, Japan made one, but that just lays flat on a football field. So anyway, that's all taken down already. They took it apart.
Well, I certainly agree with you about world peace, and that it is very important. It's becoming increasingly important in this world because the world is getting smaller.
Yes.
And when I say that, I mean
Yes.
we all can communicate with each other so much quicker and more easily than ever before in the world's history. And we're very interdependent on each other, and there are global problems, as we know, like climate change, that we need to work on together.
Yeah.
And so I think that it's a good thought. I mean, it doesn't mean we give up our national identity at all, but it means that we recognize that we're in this world together, all of us, and we need to care about the other people in it. And I like to say that Hayward is a model for what the world is becoming.
Yeah, I read about
because
that.
we are one of the most diverse cities in the state and in the country, actually.
Yeah.
And we have people from all over the world, and we make it work here.
Yeah.
We get along with each other. We, you know, we work together to do good things for everybody. We have participation from all segments of our community in, you know, the good things that are happening in Hayward. And I think that if we can make it work here and not have problems and divisiveness, we can show the rest of the world this is, you know, it can
And
be
this
done.
is what's so exciting for me to get together with you on this, because I realize that, you know, we are kind of a model city in a very big sense, you know, and you're standing in the middle of all that is quite a deal. You know, you've got a lot of responsibility in a sense there too, you know.
This year has been a very tough one because of the, you know, the changes at the federal level that have caused a lot of consternation with people in our community who either perhaps are not documented themselves, or in the vast majority who care about people who aren't documented but who live and work with us here in this community, who are a part of our community. And so it's been really hard because people were very worried about what might happen and about, you know, actions by immigration enforcement officials. And there were a lot of strong calls early in the year for us to declare ourselves a sanctuary city. And what we did was we organized a task force and charged them with, first of all, revising a 1992 anti-discrimination plan that we had, and then also to advise us about the sanctuary city after they had studied the matter. So ultimately we did declare ourselves a sanctuary city, but in doing that, we really weren't changing anything about the way Hayward has operated all along in connection with, we do not ask people about documentation. None of our police or any other city employees do that. And so anyway, it didn't really change a lot, but it reaffirmed our commitment to inclusiveness and respect for everyone among us. And so I'm very proud of this city. And now the task force recently finished its work, and we adopted what we are calling the commitment, the CIECC, Commitment for an Inclusive, Equitable, and Compassionate Community. And you're going to see a lot of things being done in the next couple of years that are a result of that plan to bring us even more together as a community, to celebrate the diversity that we have here and to learn more about each other's cultures.
And how do you deal with, you know, we have our president now, good old Trump. Do you find in your mayor job, you know, any conflict there, things that are hard to get across because of Trump or not, or?
Oh, well, got to be careful here. You don't want to get tweeted about, do you? But
tweeted. Tweet.
Yes, I mean it's a very unsettling time from the standpoint of whether the federal government is a friend or an enemy of our city, our state, you know, our people. And I just you know, day by day as things happen, you know, we're certainly worried about funding, which we do get our share of funding from the federal government for different things. I think we're very committed to reducing our greenhouse gases and conserving water, which are two of the chief environmental concerns we have, along with adapting to rising tides. We understand and believe in science here in Hayward, and we're working with other communities in the region to, you know, to prepare ourselves for those, for the eventuality of either, you know, severe drought or also rising sea level and the impact. So we're continuing that fight and have recommitted ourselves to those efforts in Hayward.
One of the things too, you know, I believe the older folks, you know, I had the responsibility to get 550 wheelchairs to Mexico, to Australia, and then Cuba. I'm working on that.
That's great.
Fortunately, I didn't have to pay for it, but I did get it facilitated. And in Mexico, I met a fellow that was working on his wheelchair, and it was one of our wheelchairs. I said, oh my gosh, you know, I went over and talked to him, and I got some tape for him and all this kind of thing. So it's nice to bring it to your own backyard, you know, in a sense. Also, I want to do this, you know, with my world peace thing, is have a class set up where it's and the curriculum is real simple: who, what, where, why, when. That's it, you know. Who, different countries, ethnic groups, and what have you. When, here, now, and so forth. So all these have been filled in. It's not as if I set up a course and tell you what to do. The professors themselves would know what to do once they have the who, what, where, why, when, you know. And the students themselves are very creative in their own way, too, because it's the way I've taught. I've taught at Chabot College here for like 30 years. And I had a tutorial center here that I ran. I don't know if you knew that or not, but I had the tutorial center. I sent tutors to elementary schools, high schools, and what have you. So, and I say all this because it's in your situation. Someday I hope that maybe you can become involved in this world peace thing. That's up your alley anyway, you know, to do something like that. And it takes so-called smaller people like ourselves, you know, we think of the president and so forth, that, and it's
well, I
tough.
think we're going to try to have a lot more opportunities in Hayward for people to get together and share aspects of all of the various cultures that we have here in Hayward. So I think that your efforts would fit right into some of that.
Yeah, that would be great. But in your situation and where you are as a mayor and so forth, perhaps you can do more things than whatever, you know. Well, we're going to have to cease here in a little bit. So anything you want to add?
Well, I'm just really grateful to be the mayor of a wonderful city like Hayward. We're really doing well right now. We're moving forward in a very positive way, despite some of the obstacles we're facing from the federal government. And, you know, certainly like every city in the state, we have challenges, but
Yeah.
I think we're doing a good job of working together and resolving those issues, and I think you're going to see more good things to come in the year ahead.
That sounds great. I want to share, at this time we only have a couple of minutes left, and I want to face the camera here and let them know what is happening with the Flying High. I will have ex-mayor, Mike Sweeney. I will interview him too. He's done fantastic work. Now he's volunteering at some restaurant where we have Meals on Wheels.
Yeah,
with our Spectrum group.
He's always been a volunteer too.
Yeah, he's just right on top of it. And then other things here that we're going to have in the near future is zeroing in on people in need, variety of services, specific needs, et cetera, Vijay Tiwari, he's a surgeon, by the way. I don't know if you've heard of him or not.
Yes.
Do you know who he is?
Introduced him to me.
Oh, I did. Okay, he's a great man. He just got back from India, by the way, so he's quite a guy. And I'm going to interview him here too sometime. And I always want to mention Jimmy Jackson. You never knew him. Awesome guy, loved him. We knew each other for about 60 years at least. Anyway, I love the guy. He was a great boxer, and nobody knew this.
Oh, wow.
He hit George Foreman the hardest he's ever been hit.
Wow.
That was Jimmy Jackson. Unfortunately, about 6 months ago, he had a leg injury and so forth, and he died. He passed away, and I just want to cry every time I think of it. But I always got to mention his name, because Jimmy Jackson was something else, you know. And I'll have, of course, Richard Valle, too.
Oh, our county supervisor.
Right.
Did some great work for us. You know, I have a good working relationship with him, and you know, we're
great.
trying to. He got us a big grant to rebuild the Eden Youth and Family Center. We're going to probably have a new building sometime in the next couple of years.
Wonderful. Well, those are the people that I'll be having on the program here, and it's about that time that we cease. So I sure want to thank you, Barbara, for being here with us.
Well, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Well, me too. Wonderful.